just a short recap what we did yesterday. I had started with IBO 1, that is International Business Environment, Block 1. Block 1 had 4 units, 4 chapters: Introduction to International Business Environment, Theories of International Trade, Balance of Payments, and Instruments of Trade Policy. In this, we discussed the concept and relevance of international business environment, micro environment, macro environment, domestic, foreign, and global environment, relevance of international business environment. Then I said you about the components of foreign environment: geographic, economic, financial, demographic, socio-cultural, political, legal, and ecological. Then I explained you regarding the different theories of international trade, where two important aspects were discussed, that is the absolute advantage theory and the comparative advantage theory. We discussed about the objectives of trade theories. Then I said you about the difference, that is balance of payments, the different components of balance of payments, that is current account, capital account, reserves, deficit and surplus in balance of payment, the reasons for disequilibrium, factors, and the methods how to correct it. In the last part, we discussed regarding different instruments of trade policy: tariff and non-tariff barriers, quota, exchange control, flexible exchange rate, and fixed exchange rate. Today, I'll start with block 2. Again, in block 2, we have 4 units, that is 4 chapters. All are requested to mute their mic. Before I go to block 2, some of the doubts were asked in the last class, and due to echo of voice, because all were unmuted, you might not have heard it very clearly. So I am clearing those 3 questions which were asked yesterday. The first one was exchange control. It is a government restriction on the movement of currency between countries. Exchange controls are government imposed limitations on the purchase and sale of currencies. These controls allow countries to better stabilize the economies by limiting inflow and outflow of currency, which can create exchange rate volatility. The second question was asked about flexible exchange rate. It is a floating exchange rate, is a type of exchange rate in which a country's value is allowed to fluctuate in response to foreign exchange market events. And the third one was asked about quota. Quota and tariff. A tariff is a tax on imports. It is normally imposed by the government on the imports of a particular commodity. On the other hand, quota is a quantity limit. It restricts imports of commodities physically. As I said in the last class, quota generally means quantity that has to be imported or exported. Am I clear? So we proceed with block 2. I'll share the screen. Just a minute.
Sir, how will we define the invisibles in balance of payment?
Write your question in the chat box. How will we define invisibles? Invisibles are both international payments for services as imposed to goods. It is as well as movement of money without exchange for goods or services. Business transfers may include profits sent by a foreign subsidiary to a parent company. The concept of holding and subsidiary company, or money invested by a business in a foreign country. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Should we start block 2? Ready? We'll start with block 2.
Yes, sir.
Let me share the screen. Please mute yourself. Okay, we'll start. Please mute yourselves. The first topic we'll discuss is globalization. Anyone? What is globalization?
Sir, growing our business
The
out of
process
our
of
borders
interaction.
in the globe.
Okay. Anyone else?
The process of interaction among the people, companies of different nations.
It basically means doing business around the globe. Yes or no? Including physical borders such as time and space, nation states and economies, industries and organizations, and less tangible borders such as cultural norms. Basically, globalization means when we expand our business globally, when we allow to do our business in a global platform. So what are the major forces of globalization? It includes international trade and international capital flows. That is in and out of country. When capital or money comes in and out of the country, it means international capital flows. that massive capital flows across countries further accelerated the momentum of globalization. The inflow and outflow of capital in and out of the country increased globalization. Due to advanced technology, it was possible to increase trade within two countries. Because by sitting in India, one can import and export to other countries by following specific rules and regulations. What will be the effect of globalization? What will happen if we go global?
Trade better,
Yes.
Market area will
trade
increase.
better,
Our
earn better,
Okay. The major.
and yes,
Yes.
and good increase in goodwill.
Yes. Very good. Foreign exchange will be there in the country. Increase in
Yes.
foreign exchange. Okay. The specific conditions or effects of globalization would be, the major effect of globalization is that the global economy is becoming more integrated day by day. The volume of world trade has grown at a faster rate than the volume of world output. There has been a trend of lowering the barriers to the free flow of goods, services, and capital among the countries. Foreign direct investment has been playing an important role in the global economy. In order to become competitive, companies have started investing in overseas operations. Because of competition, they have started increased investment in overseas operations. The global operations have led to the emergence of multilateral trading systems, which we'll learn in the later part of this unit. Imports are penetrating deeper into the world's largest economies as well. Due to globalization, both imports and exports increases. The growth of world trade and foreign direct investment has led to more foreign competition in domestic markets. In order to compete with the foreign players, domestic firms are required to enhance their production and marketing capabilities. That means in order to remain yourself in competition, you have to increase your production capacities and marketing capabilities. If you don't do that, you won't be able to compete in the global market. If you want to take a share in the global market, you have to do that. What you will do? You will increase production and marketing capabilities. Companies have started looking to the world as a market for their products. Now we don't think market as a limited area, local market or national market. We think internationally because of globalization. We can search our customers in foreign countries also. Companies have started dispersing their manufacturing, marketing, and research facilities around the globe where cost and skill conditions are most favorable. Being a businessman, you'll always try to reduce your cost so that your profit margin is increased. This can be done only when the cost and skill conditions are favorable for you. If you produce in high price, you won't find a market in the global sector. So in order to find a place in global market, you need your cost to be less than your competitors. Otherwise, your competitors will take the share in the market. Innovations have started spreading faster. Due to innovations, you have to be innovative. You have to include new ideas so that you are able to sell your product in the market. In short, for the corporate sector, both challenges and opportunities have grown. Both challenges and opportunities have grown. So what are the different forms where you can go for globalization? First is exports. As we have discussed in the last chapter also, with exports you can go for globalization. Second is direct sales and marketing. What does that mean? Direct sales and marketing.
Manufacture to customer.
Okay. Anyone else?
Producing our goods in the country and directly selling it in the outer market.
Okay. If the product is accepted in the overseas market, it will lead to establishment of an overseas sales campaign to provide better marketing and sales and service function to the customers. Suppose you want to sell your product in a foreign country, then you should have a better sales campaign to market your product so that you can reach to your final customers. Then we have direct production to produce the goods directly. Then integration with the other companies so that we can sell a product in the foreign country. What do you mean by merger? What is the benefit of merger? Anyone? Merger you must have read in company accounts.
Merger helps us in growing side by side to the person whom we merge with. Means if there is sorry sir, when we merge, both our assets grow doubled. What to say, like it will double ourselves and helps in growing in outer market.
In this case, your liabilities also get double because you are going to acquire the liabilities of other company.
But it will help. But we get help from the other part with whom we merged.
Okay. Anyone else? Benefit of merger and acquisition?
Merger usually helps to means we have to transfer of technology, manufacturing and marketing and department, everything get merged. As you can see the example of Tata acquiring Land Rover. So in that process, the Land Rover that time was the loss-making company. After Tata implementing the capital, the employee and other marketing techniques, now the Land Rover is the revenue earning for the Tata for the sake of merger.
Yes, very good example. Anyone else? Acquisition and mergers? Okay, I'll continue with this. Please mute yourselves. When we start a business or when we do business, we are always not self-sufficient. We need more and more assets, helping hands to run our business. And when we merge with a company, we get the goodwill of that company also with us. And because of the marketing capabilities, efficiency of the workers, management, we can increase sales in the global market. So generally people go for merger to increase their global share so that they can capture a market share in the long run. The major indicator of globalization of the world economy is increase in growth of international trade. Due to globalization, we are able to increase our international trade. The rate of growth of international trade is higher than the growth of world production and world GDP. Deregulation of finances by countries has led to massive improvement of capital among countries, further strengthening the globalization process. Technological and communication revolution has provided further inputs to the globalization process. There are compulsions for large firms to globalize. There are a number of approaches to the globalization process of firms and industry. India has also entered the globalization process in the 90s. International trade as proportion of its GDP is steadily increasing, and the government of India's policy towards FDI has been liberalized. What is liberalization? What do you mean by liberalization?
To liberalize the policies, I mean being not strict with them.
What will happen due to this?
Licensing system will abolish.
One by one.
Sir,
Yes.
licensing system will be abolished.
Okay. What else?
For that, more and more companies will start growing in start up their market and grow eventually.
Okay. When the government will liberalize the rules and regulations, many people will be interested to enter the business market, due to which production will increase, investment opportunities will increase, and they will try to capture a market in foreign countries also. So due to regulations of the government, we can increase and go for foreign trade. There is increased flow of FDI into India. In the near future, we'll discuss about liberalization also and FDI also, how it will help in the process of globalization. What do you mean by cross-border activities? What are cross-border activities?
Trading beyond our border.
Yes. When we trade with foreign countries, it is known as cross-border activities in
For
terms
example,
of both
Maruti Suzuki.
in terms of both goods and services. Now we'll start with FDI. Okay. You might have read about FDI in business environment. Basically, FDI occurs when an investor based in one country, that is the home country, acquires an asset in another country with the interest to manage the asset. What is FDI? FDI occurs when an investor based in one country, that is home country, acquires an asset in another country, that is the host country, with the interest to manage the asset. The company investing in the host country also transfers assets such as technology and management and marketing skills. Further, the investing company seeks the power to exercise control over decision making in a foreign enterprise, the extent of which varies according to its equity participation. That means the ratio will be depending upon the participation part, 60-40, 50-50, 70-30, and so on. Foreign direct investment also includes reinvested earnings, which comprise the direct investor share of earnings not distributed as dividends by affiliates or earnings not remitted to the direct investor. What are dividends?
Part of profit given to the holders.
Which holders?
The dividend
Dividend holders.
Dividend holders.
shareholder.
No, it is
Equity
given
holders.
to the shareholder actually, the owner of the company.
Shareholders.
Equity shareholder.
How many kinds of shares are there?
Two,
Two
What
types.
are they?
preference
Equity and
equity.
preference.
What is the difference? What is the difference between both?
Equity,
Preferential have the right to get the dividend or the profit declared by the, but the equity shareholder don't enjoy such right, and preferential shareholder have the voting right in compared to the equity shareholder. So in times of winding up, the preferential shareholder will allocate the first preference then compared to the equity shareholder.
Is this Masood?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Chalo, theek hai, you mute yourselves, everyone. I'll ask the person who will answer, right?
Okay, sir.
He correctly said the two differences between equity shareholders and preference shareholders. What happens when there's a time of declaration of dividend? First, preference will be given to the preference shareholders. They get a fixed rate of dividend. After paying dividend to them, what is left is distributed among the equity shareholders. The rate of dividend on equity shareholders is not fixed. It depends upon the profits of the company. After giving them, the rest of the profit is transferred to reserves. One more difference he rightly said, when the company is liquidated, first the capital of the preference shareholders will be returned, then the capital of equity shareholders will be returned. Am I clear? Okay. Now Akash, what is the difference between cash dividend and bonus dividend? Akash,
Yes, sir.
what is the difference between dividend in cash and bonus dividend?
Bonus dividend will directly added to the shares, sir, and cash dividend will be sent towards the shareholders.
Okay, Himani.
Bonus dividends are means extra addition of dividends, shares. Sorry, sir.
Okay,
I messed up.
Himani. It's okay, I'll explain. Himani.
Sir, it will be given in cash, and the bonus one will be, maybe they can give us the shares, extra number of shares in the company.
In what situation bonus dividend is declared, Himani?
When we have excessive profit.
No.
Sir, excessive reserve.
Okay. Masood, if you want to add something.
Sir, the bonus dividend is given in surplus to the cash dividend.
No. Nikita.
And company needs requirements money. That
This is
time the
Dinesh.
bonus dividend will.
This is Dinesh.
Yes, sir.
Okay, answer.
When the company requires some money, then they will be distribute bonus as a high value.
No. Okay, I'll answer. Listen.
Hello.
Yes.
A cash bonus is a lump sum of amount given to a current employee. But bonus is the amount given to a shareholder by employee to itself.
Is it Nikita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll answer this. Mute yourselves. See, dividend paid in cash is considered to be cash bonus, cash dividend, when the company has sufficient amount of cash and does not have any future investment proposals. So the company can pay dividend in cash. But when there is a limitation of cash availability, or the company has shortage of cash or has some further future investment proposals, what he does, instead of paying cash, he pays extra shares to the existing shareholders. This type of shares are known as bonus shares, where the company, instead of spending cash, will increase the share capital by giving additional shares to the existing shareholders. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now we'll come back to our FDI.
Yes, sir.
We'll come back to FDI.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can I add one more point?
Yes, sure. Most welcome.
Sir, bonus shares are also issued by the company to meet the liquidity needs of the company or of the shareholders at the time of need. Is it?
Actually, I have said the same thing, but other way around. I said that
Share capital.
when the company is need of cash for further future investment policies and all, instead of paying dividend in cash, they go for bonus shares, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to FDI. When the FDI was introduced in the year 2000, there was a decline in the FDI process till 2003. But after 2004, again it started to increase. What were the major? Just I want to share this screen. Okay. What are the major reasons for that? These were the bulk of investment flows is among the developed countries. The developing countries are not only recipients of FDI, but are also emerging as significant exporters of capital. The flow of FDI to developing countries, however, is concentrated in as far as 5 countries, while just 2 countries like Hong Kong and Singapore are the only 2 countries exporting substantial capital. Peoples are emerging as a major receiver of capital among developing countries. Due to this, there was an increase and decrease in flow of FDIs during that period. So what are the different advantages of FDI? advantages of FDI.
Capital supplier,
Yes, the first one is capital supplier.
Increase in the foreign reserve actually.
higher wages,
Yes, technology transfer,
higher
increase
wages,
higher wages, increase employment, exports for
More
exports,
export of goods,
more competition in the market.
more competition, etc. Due to FDI, there are certain limitations also. What are the limitations? Drawbacks for FDI?
When the investor pull back their money, that there is a decrease in the foreign reserve.
Due to which they suffered, right?
Yes, mostly.
Yes.
so
Most
there is
Time
no
of web.
additional wages, there is no additional creation of export,
Yes.
And
Pura
there is
bol-
also a mass reduction in the employment also when there is no capital in the local or the domestic company due to shortage of the capital.
That means whatever point we discussed as advantage, the reverse can
It is a
happen in
reverse.
disadvantage. Yes, it is reversed. Because of that, there are various limitations when we discuss FDI. Anyone who wants to add anything regarding FDI, you can say. Have you downloaded your assignments?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can start
No,
writing you can start writing your assignments. In case of any doubts, you can get it cleared here also.
Sir, I have actually searched the site, but I didn't get that actually, the questions. It's not opening
Ask
up in my
any
site.
ask any one of your friend to share with you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, I'll sum up this chapter. Just mute yourselves. The role of FDI has grown substantially over the last 2 decades in developed and developing countries and economies in transition. Many developing countries are the beneficiaries of this inflow. This group of countries, however, is very small in number. The growth in global flow of FDI is also attributed to tremendous expansion of cross-border mergers and acquisitions, as we discussed now regarding mergers and acquisitions. There is a considerable controversy regarding the benefits of FDI and its role in the economic development of host countries. As I said now, the advantages are the reverse, and that become the disadvantages of FDI. What good points we discussed in advantages, the reverse are its disadvantages. Some argue that FDI has a positive impact on balance of payment and expands exports and supplies needed capital, technology, and management skills. They also argue that it leads to efficient allocation of resources of the host country and increases employment opportunities. As you people said, these points were said by you. Critics of FDI argue that the positive balance of payment effects are temporary and ultimately FDI has only a negative impact on balance of payment. FDI also uses domestic capital and thus deprives domestic enterprises of needed capital. People of domestic countries will invest in foreign countries and therefore domestic people cannot get money, cannot arrange capital. This is the greatest disadvantage of FDI. It may not provide any additional employment also. Besides, FDI only create monopolies and oligopolies. What is the difference between two? Monopoly and oligopoly? Economics में पढ़े होगे तुम लोग?
single manufacture large number of sellers,
In what?
monopoly.
Large
They
number
the
of
one
sellers?
No.
They the-
Single
they the one
manufacturer and large
manufacturer.
number of customers.
customers
One
Monopolies.
seller. Monopoly, one seller.
Yes, sir. One seller and
Ah,
Monopoly
Sir,
actually
monopoly.
and
Okay.
oligopoly are small number of firms which control the market actually.
yes, that is oligopoly.
Yeah, oligopoly actually.
What is the benefits available to a monopoly firm?
Actually, he can decide the price in the market,
price. Yes, price.
main
Yes.
and the
Regarding
profitability.
the goods and services he provides.
He will rule the market.
Yes.
Yes, last
Rule the
East
market.
India Company.
He'll make huge profits and rule the market, take the market share, won't allow others to enter the market. What about oligopoly?
We can see the oligopoly example in the telecom sector. Currently, there is a few players like Jio, Reliance, and Vodafone. They're controlling the market due to small number of the competitor presence in the market.
Who decides the price for this type of markets?
Actually, the player himself, or there is a cartel, you can say cartel to a particular what to describe the means price mechanism
Particular
by the
committee.
cartel. Not a particular committee, it is a cartel, what we call in the economic terms. Actually, it is decided by the small number of firms only in between them, and they control over the market. It is also
Yes.
increased to hoardings and price increasing. Inflation also, it also affect. Like we can see in the cement industry or in the telecom industry currently, what we are experiencing.
What about perfect
Sir,
competition market?
the government puts the higher and the lower limit, and in between that, the firms mutually decides the price.
Yes.
In case of oligopoly market, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What about a perfect competition market? What happens in a perfect competition market?
Where everything is known to the seller and the buyer in the simple term.
That means both are the major parties in that particular market, right?
Yes, sir.
You cannot cheat there, you cannot make higher profits, prices will be reasonable, anyone can come and go, depend upon your choice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, coming back from the forms of market, FDI definitely promotes development, and the positive effects of FDI is much more higher than the negative aspects, because there are some positive points in FDI due to which there is an increase in employment, wage rate, due to which the country is developing. Since restrictions on FDI by national governments defer the free flow of FDI, the first step is to remove all the restrictions, which are trade related. In other words, trade related investment measures must not be used by the host country. So again, there is an opposition group who says that FDI gives negative impact to the society. First, in the form of capital, because the capital of the country goes out and being invested in other countries. So the person residing in own country does not get amount of capital to start their own business or to invest in their own business. Second, there is lack of employment opportunities. The wages also decrease, and due to this, they need that restrictions should be removed, at least in relation to trade, so that all can prosper at a time. Clear? What do you mean by transnational corporations? Transnational corporations.
Transnational corporation I can give you one example. Example of the Microsoft. There are the transnational are basically like the MNC, what we can call. But MNC, we can see there is a lot of players, but in the transnational corporation there is not much of players, but a big company who have the branches or sub branches in all over the world. Actually, the Microsoft is the, I think, a right example to give for the corporationals.
In other way around, we can say that who has a subsidiary or an associate or a branch, right?
Yes.
Basically, a transnational corporation is defined as an organization that owns productive assets in different countries and has a common strategy formulation and implementation across the border. It is engaged in international production under the common governance of its headquarters. Factors of production move among units located in different countries. These systems increasingly cover a variety of activities ranging from research and development to manufacturing to service functions. These are also increasingly established through mergers between existing firms from different countries or acquisition of existing firms in the countries by firms from other countries. It may be in the form of subsidiary, associate, or branches. You can see the screen. In the first part of the unit 7, the definition is given. You can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So we'll discuss the points. Why firms become transnational?
To reduce the cost and the tariff.
Okay.
For example, like Apple is making phones in India only now.
Anyone else who wants to add something?
To tackle the foreign competition which is happen in the global world actually.
Okay. Who else?
To improve the technology, like when we come across so many foreign companies, like we can bring together all the technologies, and hence we can avoid, we can protect the international competition also, like we can reduce it, and we can also improve ourselves with the technology.
Better use of technology, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Anyone who wants to add something else?
Reduce the impact of tariff.
Yes. You are following the book, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very good. Anyone else?
Sir, to avoid the negative negative environment of the home country. Like if there is deflation in one country, he can operate in another country.
So that, yes, carry on.
To avoid the deflation of that country or any other economic crisis going on, particularly in that country.
That means the uncertainties in the domestic cycle can be handled this way, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go by the points. The first one is to protect themselves. As she clearly explained, suppose there is uncertainty in the domestic market. In order to protect yourself, you can go for it. Second is to tap the growing world market, to enter the world market. Next is response to increased foreign competition, to reduce the cost, reduce the impact of tariff, and to take the advantage of technological expertise. As the person said, that technology is very much important, and we can add on or use the expert technology in order to survive in the market. We'll take a break of 5 minutes, then we'll come back.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Type in the chat box.
Okay, sir.
Rest, mute yourselves. I'll be back within 5 minutes. You can give your doubts in the chat box. You can write there. Your question is, how has the 1991 economic policy affected FDI policy in India? The FDI policy was a broader process of economic reforms, right? it underwent a significant change. How? It was allowed in a phased manner. You cannot directly enter it. Phase-wise, they gave you the option, and it allowed in a phased manner in most of the sectors, and restrictive conditions were then relaxed later on. The next one is explained at point 7.3. Why firms become transnational? Ritupurna?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
we'll come back to this after 5 minutes, right? I'll take a break of 5 minutes, then we'll come back. Thank you.
Excuse me, जब तक सर वापस आते हैं, can you guys just send me the link after the class? Yeah, you can just type it here when we get the assignments. Very helpful.
Okay. We'll resume our class. The last doubt was she wanted point 7.3 again. Why firms become transnational, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The firms become transnational due to a number of reasons. The major reasons are point one, they have written to protect themselves. Since firms are exposed to the risk and uncertainties of the domestic business cycle, as I said, by setting up operations in other country, they hope to diminish the negative effects of economic swings in the home country. If there is a danger in the home country, chances of losses are there, they can get or manage the profits from another country. The second one is to tap the growing world market. As a result of globalization, similar goods and services are produced and distributed worldwide. Firms want to tap such a growing world market for goods and services. When your market share will increase, obviously your profit will increase. So firms try to grow transnational. Next is response to increased foreign competition. In response to this and to protect world market shares, in order to beat the competitor strategy, a firm sets up operation in the home countries of competitors. Suppose your competitor is then a foreign market in the foreign country to beat your competitor. To reduce cost, they set up operations close to the foreign customer to reduce cost. Suppose you have a foreign customer, and if you set up a business there, you can reach your customer with lower cost, which will help you to increase your profit margin. By doing so, they can eliminate transportation costs, avoid the expenses associated with having middlemen to handle the product, respond more accurately and rapidly to customer needs, and to take advantage of local resources. Next is to reduce impact of tariff. The firms may overcome tariff walls by serving a foreign market from within. For example, firms producing the goods within European Union can transport them to any other country in the bloc without paying tariffs. That will reduce your cost also. To take advantage of technological expertise, what they have already said, in order to take advantage of technological expertise, firms may manufacture goods in the foreign market. Direct involvement in foreign market brings the company closer to increasing technological developments. They are prepared to respond by acquiring new technology. Thus, they are able to protect their international competitiveness. This is the reasons why the firms go transnational. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll proceed now.
Yes.
Now, what are the features of transnational corporations? Those who have books, they can mark down or they can pen down what I'm going on the sub points. These are normally very large in size as measured by the value of their total sales. They depend to a large extent on their foreign sales. They are multi-product enterprises that gives them tremendous market power. The main strength is technology and innovations. They are responsive to a number of important environmental forces, including competitors, customers, suppliers, financial institutions, and government. They draw on a common pool of resources, including assets, patents, trademarks, information, and human resources. They are linked by a common strategic vision, which formulates a strategic plan so as to bring the affiliates together in a harmonious way. These are some of the features of transnational companies or corporations. Now, what are the issues and controversies related to these companies? Anyone who wants to share something, any idea regarding this? What are the issues and controversies regarding this?
One one kind of issue is that the monopoly actually they enjoy actually in the market.
Okay. Because of that, they want to do business because they are going to get higher profits.
Yeah, and particularly they control the market actually. They have the upper hand in the market to
Yes.
exploit the resources to get sometimes we can see that due to dominant power they acquire the product in a very cheap price, which ultimately is a loss for the country who is selling to them actually. Like labors are very cheap in India and China as compared to London and USA the market. So they get in the upper hand and they get the labor force, or you can say capital also, from the banks or the finance global finance institution due to the reputation and all that.
We can say that they take the proper use of the scarce resources available at
Yes,
a
yes, yes, yes,
at a good price, due to
yes,
which
yes,
they are upper hand with other companies. Because they are benefited by these, the cost factor decreases and their profit margin increases. And
and
they
also,
don't let other companies to enter into market.
yes, that's a major point. Like we don't have any competitor of the Microsoft actually in the today's now time.
So basic issues related to it are,
Sir, they have a dominant hand in the position of the company. Like they do not appoint the host countries members as on top officials.
then who is going to work for them?
Means the CEO, the main managing director, the main position which they have in their hand will be with themselves only.
With themselves or with their family members or with their relatives only? They don't take
No,
outside
no,
parties.
no, sir. matlab, it will be with them only, not with us. We will
Okay.
just be a worker for them.
Okay. Anyone else wants to add something?
Sometimes it happens that these companies in the countries where they are located, this follow those transfer of the prices. So in some cases they do not pay the taxes, and but they take away the resources in return of not paying the taxes. So this in short also causes a loss to the government of that country where these companies are situated, or they're located, or they operate from.
Okay. By avoiding paying of taxes, they transfer resources away from them, right?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else?
They do not provide linkage to the host countries.
Okay. So some of the points are already mentioned in your text part. We can go through it one by one. Anyone, please read out the points, issues, and controversies. I'm sharing on the screen.
Um, shall I read out? Shall I read it out from the book?
Yes, read
I think
out.
the same. Okay. TNC's interest and the interest of host countries, especially developing ones, in many areas conflict with each other. TNCs produce products which may not be very essential for host developing countries, and thus they divert scarce resources away from production of necessary items.
The first
Second
point,
one,
as I 1 minute. The first point, as I rightly said, they use the maximum use of available resources at a better price. Clear? Point two.
TNCs generally dominate high profit oriented consumer sectors, monopolizing profits in these sectors effectively because the scope for local enterprises. This is gained through their market power through promotion, brand name, package, etc.
Yes. Next.
TNCs are extremely reluctant to transfer latest technology to the host country, thus making the developing countries depend on them for technology. They also preserve all their important R&Ds in home countries.
Yes.
The fourth one, in order to protect market share, TNCs take recourse to restrictive business practices. These include trying imports to specific sources of interest to them, conditions imposed on technology transfer, price fixation, restrictions and restrictive use of brand names and trademarks.
Carry on. I'll explain the last. Carry on.
Okay, the fifth one, through transfer pricing, TNCs avoid paying taxes to government of host countries and thus transfer resources away from them. TNCs also deprive the partners from host countries of their legitimate profits. The sixth one, TNCs do not appoint host countries personnel at higher positions. Seventh one, TNCs create balance of payment problems for the host developing countries through imports and repatriation of huge dividends, royalty, technical and management fees. Eighth one, TNCs do not create necessary backward and forward linkages. This failure very often leads to non-industrialization of host countries. Ninth one,
Remaining, please
TNCs
mute yourselves. Just 1 minute. Rest of the students, please mute yourselves. Yes, continue.
Ninth one, TNCs are not necessarily very efficient in their operations. There are cases of TNCs incurring huge losses. Tenth one, TNCs increase their dominant power through mergers and acquisitions, thus preventing competition. 11th one, TNCs have a tremendous capacity to influence the policies of home governments and international organizations. This capacity enables them to promote national and international policies to their advantage at the cost of interest of many countries, especially the developing ones.
Yes. These are some of the issues. Thank you. These are some of the issues and controversies related to companies, transnational companies. These are, we'll sum up this chapter. Transnational corporations are defined as the companies which have subsidiaries and affiliates in a large number of countries with central control and with an objective of global profit maximization. These are huge companies measured in terms of sales turnover, assets, and employment. They are multi-product technology, intensive companies, and technology ownership is their core strength. However, lately, medium-sized TNCs are also gaining importance. TNCs normally dominate the markets of products which they are producing. Their market power emanates from three major aspects: intra-firm trade, transfer pricing, and promotion and branding. Since 1991, when the Indian government started liberalizing its FDI policy, India has emerged as an important market for TNCs. If you want to ask anything, you can write down in the chat box.
So I have written a query.
Yes, I'm just going through it. Portfolio management, I think you will be covering in unit 4 or 5. Okay? So at that time, we'll discuss in detail.
Okay, sir. No problem.
It's later on. I will go to the next part, that is technology transfer. What do you mean by technology transfer?
Transferring of a process or a knowledge or know-how or a production or a product also from one country to other country, or from one market to other market, or from one buyer from one person to other person, like buyer or seller. But
Okay.
there will be
Anyone
something.
else? Yes.
There will be something like you can say the technological transfer can be a production process, or the technical issues, or the services, or any marketing strategy. Anything in any form will be transferred from one place to other place,
It may be in terms of goods, knowledge,
or
anything, right?
anything like services also.
Anything. Yes. Technology transfer involves the transfer of knowledge and technical know-how, as well as physical devices and equipments. That means in case of technology transfer, it will include knowledge, technical know-how, technical knowledge, physical devices, and equipments also. Some of the mechanisms that make technology transfer possible includes joint research, cooperative agreements, licensing, technical meetings, trade shows, and information dissemination. There are different types of technology transfers, as I said: licensing, support contracts, joint venture, franchisee, strategic alliance, turnkey agreements, equipment acquisition, management contracts, etc. Why is it important? Why technology transfer is important?
For maximum utilization of the resource, and for the profitability of the company, actually, in the broader sense.
Yes. Anyone else who want to add something?
Sir, there is a saying that you do not have to repeat the process, again and again. Like एक काम बार बार नहीं करना पड़ता है. So if you just transfer the thing at one go and use it again, the same thing in a better way. So that is a very good advantage. It saves time, it saves your resources, and it saves your work, the load. So in short, it acts as a time saver.
Yes. Technology transfer helps develop early stage intellectual property into tools for direct use by the research community, or into basis for new platforms, products, or services to be made into products for public use. As he rightly pointed out, we can save time and resources and cost instead of repeating the same steps again and again. If we transfer the technology, we can easily reduce the time and cost and manufacture the product. Is there any problems of technology transfer? Any loopholes or problems you face doing that?
Sometimes you can say, if a technology is transferred and it is not updated, like in technology, in the technical term, we can see there is a lot of software updating and innovation is going on, and if we are going to stuck with one technology, we may not get the advanced one.
Okay.
So it will be a hindrance when we go for the technological transfer, actually.
Actually, after a
Uh,
particular time, there are some bugs left over in particular softwares, and those bugs will uh, erase some of the data in your in the device, and it will after some time it will crash. So software updation, technology updation is needed, and it is very much necessary.
okay. Anyone else who wants to add something?
Sir, the point that I mentioned as an advantage, it is also a very big disadvantage because it leads to two main problems. First, it leads to bureaucracy because the risk of transfer is not so secured as it is a
Yes.
technology, as it is a software. So it is always at risk. The security of the transfer is always at risk. And the second problem that gives is that however secure you make it, but there is always a leak in that software because there are better, there are better, you can tell, not hack exactly, but there are better ways of decoding those technologies. So in short, security is the biggest disadvantage that technology possesses.
Yes. There are many problems with transfer of technology in developing countries. Some of them includes lack of pool of scientists and researchers in specific domains. Second is brain drain. As he rightly said, the hacking is nowadays common. So there is a possibility of this small market size, bureaucratic climate, inability to make public investment in appropriate research and infrastructure. How technology transfer can be done? It includes processing and evaluating innovation disclosures, filing of patents, technology marketing, licensing, protecting intellectual property arising from research activity, and assisting in creating new businesses and promoting the success of existing business firms. Now we'll go through the text part I'm sharing on the screen. Transfer of technology in FDI and TNCs. (8.4). Anyone, Masood, read out?
Yes, sir. 8.4.
Yes.
Since TNC are the main actors in technology development, attention is focused on their role in the transfer of technology. A large proportion of R&D expenditure that forms the basics of technology development in today's world of all the global civilian R&D and is concentrated within the TNC system, comprising a component of 70 to 80%. Important mode of transfer of technology is trade. Trade is capital goods, is a very important mode of transfer of technology. All developing countries except Africa import technology as import of capital goods. Total import of capital goods have risen substantially. Dramatic growth has taken place in import of Asia and Pacific region. The share of TNCs in capital good imports of developing countries is considered to be very big. A TNC normally undertakes FDI which possesses a certain technological or other economic advantage over its competitors, which it finds in its best interest to exploit internally from foreign locations, since technology forms an important part of competitive advantage of a TNC. Many firms chooses service their foreign markets through FDI not only to exploit that advantage but also to retain the company's control over the technology. TNC generally transfer the most recent technology to their affiliates while selling or licensing order technologies to locally owned firms and joint ventures. Hence, it is argued that FDI may be the only way many developing countries to gain access to the latest technology and especially to certain key technologies. As noted earlier, the introduction of new product or the qualitatively superior old product is one of the way by which technology promotes growth. One important way of accessing how transfer of technology is being taken place by the TNC is to measure the expansion of shares of high and medium research intensive industry. The creation of production facility by TNC is high and the medium research intensive industry can imply technological transfer not merely through a changing product composition but also through a training of host country personnel in new skill and introduction of new management method and in a new way of organizing the product process. As evidence, an overwhelming proportion of foreign R&D TNC is located in developed countries. However, in the country like India, the Republic of Korea and Singapore, the TNC have established R&D units of significance. But most often these R&D units are typically confined to adapting technology of the parent company to local condition. In sample of 218 Japanese TNCs, 57% expressed their views that the main objective of the foreign R&D facility was to develop products tailored to meet the local demands. The effort of TNC on deeper indigenous research and innovation capabilities know why in developing countries is less evident. As TNC can import all their know-why, it is possible the local firms may conduct more R&D. It may be, it also be that a strong presence of TNC can inhibit the development of indigenous technologies. Foreign competition could also induce domestic firms producing similar products to undertake R&D that otherwise would have taken place in order to improve the competitive advantage. FDI could also, it is a stress, improve the local innovating capacity in the area in which the host country and its firms are stronger and have a competitive market structure.
Okay, thank you. Now listen, while we are preparing for your assignments or your end semester examinations, make sure you're writing down the figures correctly. So you can Google them to get the exact current scenario. Instead of writing the old figures, you can Google and find out the correct figures, and you can use in your answers. Clear? The next part will discuss about the non-equity forms of technology transfer by small and medium enterprises. What are different forms of non-equity forms of transfer of technology? The first one is outright sale or purchase of technology, subcontracting, management contracting, franchisee, exporting, strategic alliance, licensing, and turnkey contracts. Most of the things you already know. What are these? We will go one by one. Anyone read out the first one, outright sale or purchase of technology? Outright sale and purchase of technology.
Firms at times prefer outright purchase of technology while the seller also opts for it. The advantage of this mode of transfer to the purchaser is that the buying firm gets technology at one go and has freedom to use the technology without the interference of the seller. Further, the buyer may find it economical, but there are certain disadvantages as well. First, outright purchase may not be adequate to transfer technology without the support of the seller. Further, the buyer will be deprived of the advances that would be subsequently made. In addition, the absence of well-planned R&D, the technology absorption by the firm may not be adequate. The firm may, in the ultimate analysis, have to depend on outside sources for all technological inputs.
As rightly said, we can directly purchase or sell the technology. Somebody else read out the second one, subcontracting.
Subcontracting. Many foreign enterprises subcontract the purchase of input to host countries' producer. This is called supplier or user relationship. Under this agreement, the TNC affiliate.
Arrangement.
Hello, am I audible?
Under this arrangement. Yes, carry on.
Yes, sir. TNC affiliates for insurance not only assist the local local firm technologically, but also provides information which is important in increasing its ability to coordinate the production of components and other intermediate products. This should be not mistaken for licensing agreements. Technology passed to subcontractors or suppliers coming in form of technological assistance, material handling, product and process technology, and general information which regards to production and finance, etc. This form of technology transfer in widespread in automobile industry, radio, television, shoes, etc. This form of technology transfer has also expanded to high sophisticated products such as those of semiconductor industry.
Basically, subcontracting is the practice of assigning or outsourcing part of the obligations and tasks under a contract to another party, known as the subcontractor. Subcontracting is especially relevant in areas where complex projects are the norm, such as construction and information technology. You subcontract a particular part to some other person to do the work. Next, management contracts. Someone read out.
Under this contract, a foreign enterprises advise the host company about various management practices which are in use in the parent company. Occasionally, under this contract, the entire management is handled by the foreign firm, in which case the host company pay management fees either as a lump sum or in installment.
Yes, a management contract is an arrangement under which the operational control of an enterprise is vested by a contract in a separate enterprise that performs the necessary managerial functions in return for a fee. That fee can be paid in a lump sum amount or in installments. The management contracts involve not just selling a method of doing things, but involve actually doing them. Next, franchises. Anyone?
Franchises under this arrangement, the owners of a specific net technology allow a host company to use its specific knowledge for a franchise fees. This is a widespread practice in food industry, hotel, etc.
Basically, a franchise is a type of license that a party acquires to allow them to have access to a business's proprietary knowledge, process, and trademark in order to allow the party to sell a product or provide a service under the business names. Next, anyone?
Export and technology transfer. National firms will be able to acquire technology through exports. Let us explain this concept with the help of following case. Uh, this case has been taken from World Development Report, Volume 18, Number 2. Youth will re the catalytic model of development lesson from Bangladesh success with garment export. Acquire.
Okay, we'll avoid this. Now, okay, we will avoid this case study. We'll directly go to the next
Okay, sir.
point. Strategic alliances and technology transfer. You read out.
Strategic. Sorry. 1 minute.
Next
Okay,
point.
sir. Strategic
Yes.
alliances and technology transfer. High risk and rise R&D costs, especially in the area of new technologies, and the rapid obsolescence of new products have forced many TNCs to form technology related strategies alliances to share development costs, acquire new technologies, and make better use of scarce qualified personnel. The substantial number of strategy alliance
Strategic.
yes strategic alliance in
Huh.
experience now is a relatively new phenomenon. There are indications, however, of an emerging trend towards a very high proportion of agreements involving the development of and access to technologies. The alliance of IBM with several other corporations for the purpose of developing its personal computer are an example. The Lotus Corporation provided the application software, and Microsoft wrote the operation system operation system for a microprocessor that was produced by Intel. IBM traditionally what is this? Reluctant to conclude alliance has now created alliance with more than 40 partners around the world, pooling technology and customers based in telecommunications and related field. As a response to competition from IBM, the Japanese computer firm Fujitsu formed alliance with Texas Instruments Siemens and Hitachi.
Siemens and Hitachi.
Such alliance are often
Okay, we'll 1 minute. You can go through the examples from the text part. I'll just explain the basic concept of it. Strategic alliances occur when two or more organizations join with pursue mutual benefits. The alliance often involves transfer.
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Just 1 minute.
Not
Let
audible.
me check my connections.
Okay, sir.
Now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Perfectly.
Okay. Strategic alliance occur when two or more organizations join together to pursue mutual benefits. The alliance often involves technology transfer, that is, access to knowledge and expertise, economic specialization, shared expenses, and shared risk. It is done mutually where both the companies will get benefit of it. Now we'll go to the next part, that is.
Sir, next part.
Yes, next part is intellectual property rights.
Intellectual property.
Let me share the screen, just 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Intellectual.
Go through it.
8.8.
8.8.
Okay. The concept of intellectual property rights refers to the executive privilege granted to individual or institutions. Oh, sorry.
Like I will do it.
Okay.
The concept of intellectual property right refers to the exclusive privilege granted to individual or an institution to make use or sale of good and service that embody the ideas, techniques, and invention that they have appropriate. An intellectual property right system thus can be defined as the interrelationship between a set of incentives and rewards designed to stimulate the creative, the inventive activity of people and the institution for the achievement of specific goal and the mechanism that regulate and permit the enforcement of the exclusive right. The most important intellectual property right in existence and patent and copyright. The
Just 1
patent
minute.
in the exclusive
Just 1 minute. Let me just explain the basic part, then we'll continue. Basically, intellectual property rights include patents, copyright, industrial designs, rights, trademarks, plant variety rights, trade rates, geographical indications, and in some jurisdictions, trade secrets. What are the different types of intellectual property rights? Anyone? Four main types of intellectual property.
Intellectual property.
It can be in the form of patents, trademark,
Patents.
copyrights,
Goodwill.
and
Goodwill.
trade secrets. Okay.
Yes.
Why intellectual property rights are important? Why it is important?
As the inventor or the person who has invented or the make out the solution needs to give the credit. Actually, he needs to protect his rights in order, because lot of investment or lot of time is been devoted to have such innovation or such technology. To have a right to uh, in it is like to protect one's right. Actually, the effort which has been given and the sacrifice what has been made, it should be honored, and it should be in a profitable word, it should be respected. Actually,
Basically, we can say that it is related to safety, reliability, and effectiveness of the purchase.
yes.
Strong enforced intellectual property rights protect consumers and families. Strong IP rights help consumers make an educated choice about the safety, reliability, and effectiveness of their purchase. Enforced IP rights ensure products are authentic and of high quality that consumers can recognize and expect. Now we'll go to the next part. You can go through these portions, it's already given. I'll sum up this chapter. International transfer of technology refers to transfer of technology among firms located in different countries. Technology transfer includes transfer of rights to use the patented knowledge, secret knowledge, trademark, and brand name. Technology market from the point of view of developing countries is a seller's market where a few sellers, especially PNCs, dominate. The reason for transfer of technology is that folks would like to use the commercially successful technology and not to reinforce inventions of all known knowledge. Transnational corporations own
Excuse me,
70
sir.
to
You are
80%
lagging
of
again.
Sir, not audible,
technology
sir.
and
You are not audible.
Voice break.
Sir, not audible.
now it's
Yes, sir.
audible.
Yes.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I continue from where I left. The reason for transfer of technology is that firms would like to use the commercially successful technology and not to recourse to inventions of already known knowledge. They should go for new inventions, right? Because already which are there in the market is already there. You should go for new ones. Transnational corporations own 75 to 80% of technology handled in the market. No doubt, small and medium-sized firms also transfer technology. FDI is an international mechanism of transfer of technology. Non-equity form of technology transfer has also become important. It includes outright purchase, sale of technology, licensing, subcontracting, management consultation, etc. Technology collaboration agreement consists of patent rights, transfer of trademark of intellectual property have become an important issue. Due to this, there should be safety of various things which we have discussed, like there are few limitations of Indian purchase of technology, that is inadequate understanding of technology market, lack of teamwork, tendency to accept restricted business clauses, no R&D effort, and repeated purchase of technology. With this, we have come to the end of block 2. If anyone has any doubt, you can text in the chat box.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Sir, page number 59,
Yes.
the last two lines, it is mentioned there. Uh, the policy of introducing product patents in place of process patents. Can you just explain in brief what exactly are those and what's the difference?
Difference between product and process patents. No?
Yes, sir. What's the difference between those two terms?
Okay. When you talk about product patent, it basically protects a product. It offers high protection to the original inventor to reduce the competition of the same product. You deal with product directly in case of product patent. Whereas in a process patent, the protects the process through which one manufactures the product. First one is the product itself. Second one is the system of manufacturing that product. The process of producing the product is protected and not the product. It reduces the element of monopoly in the market. Is it clear?
Can you give an example? Like how can you any example of these two terms?
Suppose in case of a product patent, you will sell the how to manufacture that particular product is your lookout. You will be in charge of that particular product. You are going to handle the product. You are going to manufacture it. But in
Sir,
case
can
of
I interrupt?
yeah.
A simple term, you can give the example of the Domino's, like the process of how he make the pizza. It is secrets, but everyone know how to make a pizza.
You can say that the process of making is a process patent, and the product itself, that pizza, is a product patent. Right.
Yes, sir.
But I have a point to this. every of the pizza chain, actually it is not about a secret of making. I guess it is more of a open kitchen and a closed kitchen. That concept is different, I guess, because there are two types of cooking that goes on in restaurants or any fast food outlets. One is the open kitchen where you can see the food that has been cooked, and that is something called a closed kitchen.
I could
For
not get
product
you.
patent, you can have you can have an example of a cell phone, a particular
One
cell
minute,
phone.
just others, please mute yourself. We are unable to hear.
For a
Only one
product
person
pat-
should speak at a time.
for a product patent, you
Yes.
can have an example of a particular brand of a cell phone, and for a process patent, like you can have a Coca-Cola. How is Coca-Cola made? Only 2% in the world knows how to make a perfect Coca-Cola. So it's an example of process patent.
There is one more difference between the both. A product patent is granted to the original inventor of the product, the person who has invented it. But a process patent is granted to the particular process and not to the end product. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Anyone has got the assignment? At least we can discuss two questions because we have completed